Hey guys, welcome back to Trad Rod and Custom. I'm Oliver, and in today's video we are going to be grabbing up some of our bits here. We've got a lot of 33 Dodge grill shells, and we got one in particular that's mostly complete. We're going to see how much of the dents we can hammer out, how straight we can get the thing. It looks like it's been run over by a truck, but let's see what we can make out of it. You're not going to want to miss this one. Let's get into it. As you guys can see, this thing has dents everywhere. It is tweaked. It is bent. It has been hammered on. There is not one smooth spot on this shell. We're going to see what we can do to fix that. I'm going to show you some tips, some tricks. I am by no means an expert at this kind of stuff, but let's see what we can do with some basic tools and some basic know-how. So one of the first things we want to make sure of is we really want to be careful. This metal's thin. We don't want to be beating on it too hard. We don't want to create more issues. Now remember, anytime you strike metal on metal to an anvil straight through, you're going to create a little stretch. And we don't want to create a bunch of stretch in this shell. If we do, we're going to create extra warps, extra oil canning spots, extra things that just don't fit right. So we want to ease into the repairs, and the number one rule for repairing dented metal is pull it out the way it went in. You know, reverse the damage, as they say. So what I'm going to start off with, I've got this little piece of rubber here. It's pretty hard rubber. I'm putting that on my anvil to start with. That's just going to give me a little bit of cushion so that I'm not driving things home too hard. Next, I'm going to take my dead blow here. This is not something we're going to be walloping on it with. This is something we're just going to take our time and just do little strikes and see what we can kind of massage out. Let's see what we can get done. So right off the bat, one of the things I can see is down the sides here, we have some just really somewhat easy looking goose eggs. And we want to see what we can do to just kind of get those back out and flush. Get it in the right spot here. I'm just going to give it a couple little gentle taps. And you can see some of that has already come out. Some of that has lifted. Let's give it a little bit more force. Now we don't want to create any stretch though, so we got to be really careful about the stretch. Let's take this over to our stump. I've got a contour dish here on my stump that helps for some of this kind of stuff. Just got to be really careful not to go too far. Go too far and it's pretty hard to go back. And you're creating stretch again, even though you're not using something hard. Look at that. Can you guys see that? How much that's come out? We've got a little more here. And we may end up needing to come back and planish the edges of this a little bit, get it really smooth. But we're doing it all in stages. So let's just kind of get the whole thing roughed out, get it close. And then we'll worry about the smaller stuff and kind of refine and refine and refine. Feel some right in there. can see how much that's popping out. I can feel a little bit more. Now this is by no means finished. Don't get me wrong. This first round, we're just hitting it with that mallet and getting it pushed out. And that is a lot better already. Now if this is a shell you're going to end up painting, that's good enough. You can sand that down, get it nice and clean, and you can just do a little skim coat and that'll fill out real nice. Now we will see if we can planish that out a little bit better, but for now, that is the business. This thing has some pretty severe damage around it. Now, I'm not positive we're going to be able to repair it all. I do have another shell off of a big truck, and the big truck shells come way down and taller, but this upper shape is the same. We may end up needing to cut some of this out and replace it, but we're going to try to avoid that. I like saving as much as I can save, so let's kind of keep after it and see what we can get hammered out here. This side has a very similar goose egg on it. Let's see if we can get that also punched out. Much better. Oh, that's much better already. Progress. Progress I like. Just those two dents alone have fixed some of this flare this thing has. Don't be afraid just to grab the metal and give it a little bend, give it a little tweak. If you can see where it's supposed to go and you got enough oomph in your arms to do it, just give it a little massaging. Okay. Now that we've gotten some of these dents out of the sides here and kind of tweaked it back into its general form, now we got to start kind of looking at some of this littler stuff, some of this stuff down here. This thing is really taking a beating. And we got to be careful not to cause more damage. Now, you might ask yourself, why Oliver, why are you messing with this shell? This shell's pretty rough. These things cost over $1,000, $1,200, sometimes $2,000. They're really incredible, in good shape. I've got the original one that came with my car, which is rusty like you wouldn't believe. I've got one off a big truck that my buddy traded me. And I've got this one that my buddy also traded me. I've got a good insert for the most part, which is going to need a little bit of fin straightening. We'll make a fin straightening tool in the future video, and I'll talk to you guys about how to do that. But this kind of gives you an idea of where we're headed and how close we are. And you can see it's not too bad. You can see down here, the lower half of it has got shaped in the wrong direction. It needs to go in, it's coming out. So we need to figure out a way to get this thing tipped back the way it's supposed to be. You can see right here, it's pushed in at the bottom, almost like this thing was in an accident, got hit up front, kinked down. So we're going to try to get this lip pulled back up, get some of this stuff straightened. Now this is kind of tricky. As you can see, it's flat here, has a little bit of an edge, curved here. We don't want to cause damage. So let's be careful, see what we can get done. We all have specialized tools we use for this kind of stuff. I like using these big cold chisels, these broad ones, for creases and straight parts. They all have different profiles. This is a dolly that I picked up. It's an old piece somebody made for putting up inside fenders and stuff, but this one has a great profile on it for hitting round things. And you can just set it right into that crease and hammer on it. Grab the two hammers. I'm also going to grab a little sledge. I know a sledge might seem like overkill, but all of this has to do with touch. So this is heavy. You do not want to take something like this and start beating on your piece of metal. You're going to ruin it. But for instances where I have something that's a rounded profile cold chisel for putting something in, I can set that in there and I can just do some little taps. And this thing has enough oomph behind it that I don't have to swing it. I can just kind of pick it up and drop it a little bit. So these are some of our tools we're going to be using. We still got our rubber pad here. Let's see what we can get done. Now offhand, what I'm seeing, some of this stuff is just warbled. It's warbled. Don't be afraid to just grab something off your bench. Crescent wrench. Tighten that crescent wrench around there a little bit and just give it a little tweak. I can tell that those are not straight, so it does not hurt me one bit just to give them a little tweak back. Now you can tell somebody pie cut this thing trying to fix this. It's not how I would go about fixing a grill shell. That is overkill. That is creating work, potential heat warpage. That is just not what we need to be doing. It's important to remember that there's not really rules about how you get there. Now there are rules about methodology. There are rules about how to not damage your product that you're working on. But there's no rule saying I can't grab a wrench and just bend something. There's no rule saying I can't just lean this over my vise or over something that has the right shape and use that as an anvil. All these things are allowed. You're allowed to do whatever you need to do to get there. Just make sure you're being careful while you do it so you don't cause damage that you then or somebody else has to fix later. Already I can tell by bending those back a little bit, this has pulled this up some. I can already see that. I'm going to give it just a little hand pull there. Now I can see here, I've got a little bit of a crease going this way in this curve. So I'm going to try to get that isolated up here on my rubber pad. You can feel it there. I'm going to take this piece, and I'm going to take my sledge, try to position here so you guys can see. I'm just going to give it some taps. Just trying to push everything back down without causing any damage. That's already doing a lot, I can tell. So take a look there. This used to be creased. Now it is a little bulbous this way still, but that crease is gone. This is a little smushed out, so it's gotten a little widened out there. We need to kind of bring that back in. And I can see some of that is here. See the best way of getting at that. Maybe we'll use our vise. Vise is handy. I use my vise for shaping metal often. So we're going to open it up until that fits. Slides down in there. Now we're going to tighten it up a little bit. Pull everything kind of straight down the side there. Right? Now I'm not letting this go. That'll just create bend in the wrong spot. So I'm supporting it over here. I'm going to take this piece. Has a nice little soft round, and I'm just going to try to push this down here. Alright, now you can see this used to be sticking up here, and now I've got that curve back in it. That crease is down in there again. Now it's not quite done yet. You can see this is still too wide. It needs to be tighter. I think the way I'm going to try to do that is I'm going to set it up here on my rubber. Take that dead blow. I'm going to try to hit it right where it's bulbous there. I got some of it. A lot of this is just working it. Work it and then work it back and work it again. We got a pretty good one right there too. I think I'm going to leave that for now. Keep trying to work towards something here, towards the shape we want. We got a pretty good wallop right here. Let's see if I can get some of that out. We're going to go to this one here. Again, we're going to go to this dolly. It's got a nice soft edge. Set that on there. You can also take a hammer, not in this instance, but you can take a body hammer that has the right profile and you can set it there, and another body hammer, and you can hit, and you can make sure that your strikes aren't missing there. It gives you a little more accuracy for fine-tuning things. Just a little crease there. Trying to get that metal back out. You can see right here, bring you guys in. You can see right here that this thing is broken here, folded up. You can see this extra metal, that isn't supposed to be there. That's part of our problem here. So let's see if we can get something in there and get that metal back out. That metal can be a little bit our guide on how far we want to swoop this chin down. Because that metal's all got to fit in there. A little more power here. Now we can see it's overlapped, so that's got to come out. This has got to come all the way back to somewhere out here. So you can see how much that was bent. It's a lot closer. And take a look at how much different that looks. It's starting to swoop. It's starting to get that swoop back. We knocked out some of this dent here. We've straightened some of this. We hammered this back down and we're starting to pull it down to where it goes. When that piece of metal gets below here, we're going to be in the ballpark for the swoop on this thing to match that insert. So let's just keep tapping at it. I'm going to shove that dolly in this area here and see if I can get that to round out a little bit for us. It's right there. Sometimes the struggle is just finding the right position to get your tool where you want it. Get your piece supported the way you want it. Let's give that a try. Fix some of this edge. You can see what we're doing there. We're pushing this out. Everything's coming back. If you guys can tell that. Everything's coming back to shape a little bit here. Flip that over. See if we can hammer out some of this denting in the side. I am going to use my sledge here because this is pretty thick and it's reinforced by this threaded nut here, retained nut. If you're having trouble feeling your dent, you can always knock the rust and paint and stuff off. You can sand it down. That'll help you feel it a little bit better. I'm not struggling too much with that right now. Yeah, that body's starting to come back out. Now, you can watch a lot better metal shaping videos than this, but I do feel sometimes that some of those videos are a little more technical for a little more advanced crowd. And I'm trying to show you guys just some basic stuff you can do to play around and make things better. So there's a little goose egg right here. I think I got it. I got some of it. Got some of it. There's still a little bit there. Little by little. That metal to remember how it used to be. And come back home. Let's do a little of this. Up there. Position. I don't think you guys can see it, but I'm using the same technique we used earlier. Setting that dolly on and tapping it. See, putting contour back in this where this had been hammered on before. You could tell somebody had beat on it to push it out. I'm putting a little contour back in it. Before you know it, we're going to have something here. We are going to have something. I'm liking what I'm seeing. This side especially has some issues. So what I'm going to do, I got this on an 8 now, 8-inch lower. Put that in there. We're just going to work some of this out. Remember we had a couple creases around this dent here that we were not quite having perfect. Check that out. That crease, you can see where the mark is from me hammering from the other side around it, but you can't feel it. It's gone. A lot of this is gone. Much smoother. Now one thing you can see, if you look at this side, it's pretty flat heading back. This side's got some curve to it, and that's not because we wheeled it. it was already doing that, and a lot of that has to do with what we're having happen in here. So we'll do a little more dolly and hammer work. That's going to be an interesting fix. But we'll keep working this thing and see how much more progress we can get. Maybe we'll get that insert bolted in and take it over and set it on the car. Okay, now you can see here I got this curve lined up so that this back edge is continual. I got all this kind of trued up, so I'm just going to put a little tack right there to keep it all together. About like that. Now, as you can see, that's going to keep that right there. It's going to keep the amount of metal on this outer edge the same. I did have to grind through the chrome a little here to get it ground. Now this stuff in here is not perfect yet. I got to massage that a little bit. It's got a crack into here. That's going to get brought out. But out here at this edge, that's the right amount of metal to be out there. That curve is continual now, and I'd be willing to bet it fits that insert pretty dang well. Even better than it did before. We're starting to get a nice continual shape here. And it's stronger. Now one thing we did is we did put this crease back in here by bending that back. That put stress there. So we are going to have to knock that crease back out a little bit, very carefully. And normally the wings hold this on, but it's a little mangled still, and the set of wings I have are mounted to that other grill. Plus those wings are off a different year and they don't fit exactly right, so I'm gonna have to widen the holes out a little. So for right now, for this little test run here, I'm just gonna use a couple screws. Set that there. See if we can get this to fit here. It doesn't look like it's even that close to me. Got it. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, it's about touching. It's touching. It's in the right spot from here to here, and from here, well, not in that corner, obviously. The way it is here, this corner is off, but from here down to in here somewhere, and then the bottom matches. We're in the ballpark now. Anyway, I'm going to call that good for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button. We just broke 1,000 subscribers. That's so cool. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate all of you. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.